That's what we're going for. But today's episode is entitled The Big Picture. So here's what I want to do. I want to paint you a picture. I want to paint you a picture of, and it's hard to think of, but a time when family businesses were not only normal, but I would consider necessary. How else is the family generating income? So in this time has been hijacked. But look, let me not. Okay. So there would be certain families that would be specialized in certain things. Right? You see it today. I would say predominantly in business. Trump Towers. That's a family name. But even though it's synonymous with one individual, typically, still a family name or a family brand, even though it's a media brand or a real estate brand or something like that. They're known for what they do. Louis Vuitton, certain brands are family brands, but they're also public companies. Now, this is currently what we deal with is a hyper-developed, I would say, scenario of what I'm describing with specialized family businesses. So, there was shoemakers. There was a family in the town that would make shoes. And, it wasn't necessary to have another shoemaker family in the town because there was already a shoemaker family there. There was a butcher, there was bakers, so on and so forth. You kind of get the idea, I hope. But these businesses were run by families, and the children would work, the adults would work, the family would work. But the benefits to the state specifically, or the city, or the municipality, but let's specifically talk about the state, were minimal in those types of situations. Typically, families had trusts. They did business through a trust. The family didn't pay state taxes because the state didn't create the trust. So the family pooled their labor together, and it was really unnecessary to receive anything from the state. Now, the family typically would teach the younger children in the family business. And of course, you had individuals in the family that would go to a different field and, maybe want to go off on their own, and that happened. But predominantly, people would stay and, in situations that I've seen, still do stay in the family business. Why? Because they see value, not only in the legacy of the family, but also in the value in the wealth of the family and what it can accomplish them and what they can, help accomplish for the family. These principles do not benefit states or corporations. All right? Big picture. These principles only benefit private families. Commerce, ultimately, was predominantly private. Gold and silver were money. People mined gold. I don't need the state or the government to give me gold or silver. Now, the government would coin gold and silver, of course, and they still do. And the purity and weight of those coins were backed by the government, ultimately. But, and really how you got those coins was they charge you a little bit over the amount of gold to get them. But they're recognized and so on and so forth. So really, that's how ultimately, in my opinion, the government got into, money. But families ultimately ran their own businesses, and they ran them privately. You know, a family could easily, hey, barter and say, hey, we'll offer you these goods or these services. We'll give your family an entire pair, two pairs each, one pair of boots and one pair of nice shoes. If you put in our bathroom or do our driveway or something. These types of things were very powerful. Wealth isn't just gold and silver. Ultimately, currency itself, dollar bills represent energy, a store of energy, a store of wealth. So these types of commercial transactions, these private transactions, do not benefit the state. They do not benefit corporations. Now, those who want to expand beyond their family businesses, who want to acquire larger amounts of wealth, must acquire control over larger amounts of energy or labor in this instance. And now we get into the division of labor and how corporations kind of have, in the state, kind of have, well, not kind of, they have almost completely broken that family style of business, that private family style of business. There were laws passed, and I'm not saying they're bad because they needed to be passed, but to protect certain people. But there's certain laws that there's child labor laws. So if you want to have your child work for your family business, and that business is a statutory business, if it's an LLC or some sort of corporation, you might run into some sort of child labor laws, which reduced, in a lot of situations, the time that allowed that child to gain experience in the family business. But ultimately, when we get into the division of labor, now the division of labor ultimately is the specialization of one thing or a number of things with regard to the production of a product. Typically the family bootmakers, let's say they're making shoes, maybe the father does leather and, the child does the sole and some of the stitching on the sole. But often, each member is being taught how to create the entire product. Whereas when you get into corporations, they work off the division of labor because it is more economical for them. Now, a family can only produce a certain amount of goods and services because they're limited by the family members or the members that are available to labor for them. Now, in order to go outside of that, we get into some sort of corporate structure, or you can do it in the private structure. But you get into some sort of corporate structure and they specialize, like I said, there are specialized positions and functions within the what's the word I'm looking for? The overall production line of the product. So where, each family member could sit there and, with the proper measurements, create the products. One created left, one created right, one created left, one created right. And by the end of the day, they've made, maybe 4 or 5 pairs. Whereas a corporation can pump out, by dividing labor properly, they can pump out 100, possibly, similar quality pairs or more by dividing labor properly. And like I said, each person gets a specialized thing. One person does the stitching, one person does the sole, one person does the leather overlay, one person, and in that way, the corporation is able to push out more products, able to provide more services. Now, ultimately, what I put together is, and I'm not going to get into it, but the state created through heavily endowed heavy endowments from wealthy families, public school system. The public school system educates or specifically teaches the fundamentals needed for the products of the school system to now go and fill positions in the state-created corporations. Now that's much more financially beneficial to the state and corporations, and less financially beneficial to the private family. Hopefully that just did something to you, because it did something to me when I put that together. It did take a lot of reading and it took a lot of study, but it really made me feel a certain way when I put all that together. It was a school system that was put together by these states that was heavily endowed by the Rockefeller and Carnegie families to basically fill positions in their corporations, because they want to amass wealth outside of the ability of the labor that is contained within their families. So, I mean, ultimately, that's what we're dealing with. And when I realized that, it really made me realize that I had to do what I could to educate people on what's going on. Now, when you're working for a corporation and you're an employee, the state makes a lot of money off the company. The state makes money off of you, off of taxation. It's a privilege to be an employee and work for a corporation. The school system does in no way, shape, or form, actually the opposite. The school system does not encourage in any way, shape, or form for any student to take what they learn and go and build or add to their family business. We are directed towards certain careers that I would say 99.9% of the time, these careers we cannot pursue within our family, because our family does not possess the business to house that position that I'm looking to fill with all of this education and all this work I did and all this studying and all these hours that I put into it. All this investment that I put into this education. Not only do I have a thought to apply for our family business, we don't have a family business that can sustain this. And for me, it's a covert way of, in my opinion, pulling more energy and more people into the public out of the private. And really, look, most people are never in the private. They never, and that's where it is. And people, the state's destroying families and stuff. And you'd have to be insidious. You'd have to be evil to be out here to purposely and deliberately be destroying families. No, that's just a byproduct of this commercial corporate system. The purpose is to control as much labor, energy, and specialize these individuals, divide their labor as such to maximize the output product or service, to maximize profits for the shareholders and the executives. The byproduct is it's very, very, very detrimental to families and family businesses. Now, you have commercial interference for the state. The state is paperwork, man. It's the state of. It's a state of. You should look in the law dictionary and look up the law definition of state. And read it several times. 7, 8, 9 times. Read it. It's paperwork. The birth certificate. It's paperwork. What does it equal? Control. and jurisdiction over life and property. Those right there are the crux. But in order to understand the crux, you got to understand what I feel we have to understand what I just said. The big picture. How the division of labor, how, private family business does not benefit public states and corporations, and how anything beneficial to private family business is not beneficial, and vice versa, with regards to the states and public companies and corporations. You got taxes, use taxes, sales taxes, death taxes, inheritance taxes, probate taxes. There's a lot of this stuff, Why? Because the entity that we are using to interface with the public was created by the state. I don't care what you say. You can capture whatever I'm so tired of hearing people say I'm about to capture and put it on the private side. Look, fam, it was created. You can never, ever take away the fact that document, that paperwork, is a creature or creation of the state. It says on the top of it. It is a creature of the state, and that creature allows jurisdiction. It allows control, as I said, over life and property. Any property titled, any income that is received with regards to the name on that birth certificate or that ID or driver's license or whatever, it is directly connected and controlled and under the jurisdiction of the state of whatever is on top of that birth certificate. And some of you say, well, so my birth certificate is in Alabama, but I live for the last 20 years in Georgia. Cool. What state does it say on your driver's license? On your state ID? Oh, it says Georgia. There you go. All you did was tie the paperwork from Alabama that allows you to use that paperwork to open accounts and to go and be an employee. You brought it under the jurisdiction of Georgia. You got the driver's license. You got the state ID. You have an address associated with that paperwork. All of that gives jurisdiction. Anything, car, house, anything, minutes for your phone, anything of that name. The state has an interest in that property. That's why they can probate your estate after you pass away. That's why you got to apply for bankruptcy, and then they take it and tell you, okay, here's this, and you got to do that, and you got to do this, and all that. That's why they appoint a public defender to defend their public entity. And I'm telling you. And then, people say, well, how is family law private law? So when the state has blah, blah, why? Because why? It's that paperwork. It's that birth certificate, man. That's public family law, child support, birth certificate, all of that. That name is on this birth certificate as the parent or parent entity. It's ridiculous. And there's statutes that say, any blah, blah, blah. Hey, man, it's the paperwork. It's the nexus. Well, we were not taught that paperwork, whether it's a birth certificate, whether it's articles of organization, articles of incorporation, anything state derived, is inferior to the private way of doing it. The way families used to do it. The way families still do it now, but it's not as predominant. And that's privately through a contract. Now, people say, well, how it's a trust, and the state says there's different jurisdiction. Private contract is not governed and cannot be governed by any state law if it is crafted, executed, and administered properly. Let me say that. And the Constitution protects private contracts. Article 1, Section 10, in part states, no state shall pass any law impairing the obligation of contract. What's your problem? You say it's a trust. That's your problem. It only comes under trust law on how the income is dispersed and how the income is taxed. What you don't realize is that in every other situation it's a contract. So when we say trust, it's like, okay, so they got statutory regulations to trust. And then if you don't produce a contract that claims otherwise, there you go. This isn't taught in public school. Why would it be? This is adverse to the public. It's adverse to states. States have no control over private contract. If you know that private contracts are recognized to do business in over 120 countries, the United States being one of them, well, the states not only lose control over the entity that you're administering or that you're using to do business for your family, but also they're going to definitely lose revenue. Period. This is the big picture. This happens every day. You can look up the Hague Convention on Trusts. I suggest you read it. I suggest you read it several times. And you should hear me when I tell you I use private contract to do business on behalf of private entities every single day. And there are people all over this world that understand and know exactly what I'm talking about. But have no vested interest in any of you. So, with this knowledge, we establish our private trust estate, our business trust, our asset trust, our family trust, and in most cases, a private family foundation. These are really the only 4 private entities that your family will ever need. And people be like, my business trust, my asset trust. No. Because if you do it right, these trusts, regardless if you were involved in its creation or were the first trustee, are intended to outlast your life. They're intended to be vehicles of your family's multi-generational wealth. And typically, when defining multi-generational wealth, you're talking 300 years and more. So this business trust, this asset trust, this family trust, you should look at them as immortal. Immortal, private entities, private structures, lawful and legal, that are recognized in the public, but if administered properly, are not controlled by the public. These entities allow for correct positioning or putting your family and your private wealth in the correct tax position specifically. The correct position for investments, whether they be brokerage accounts or you're looking at private placement accounts and investments. Put the correct position for endowments, financial endowments. Put the family's name on the wall in a hospital or in a university. And through that contract, you negotiate a annual payment to your family estate forever, indefinitely. The correct position. Putting your family estate in the correct banking position. Private family banking. A lot of people say, how you do that? You know, the banks, blah, blah, blah. Look, man, all this stuff was set up by people like you and me. But we're dedicated and consistent in their efforts to create these structures and the procedures by which to expand these structures without them having to be there. This is nothing new. How to properly use, I would say, something like a life insurance contract to not only aggregate wealth, but to fund the family estate as well, to add wealth to the family estate. It's crazy because if you get the right life insurance contract, there's a death benefit, there's a payout when you die. Everybody dies. And people wonder how the rich keep getting richer, and this is one of those components. You know, they have the proper life insurance, they have the proper beneficiary on that life insurance, and when the beneficiary is paid that death payment, the family gains more wealth. This stuff isn't taught in the public. This is the big picture as far as I'm concerned. Now, private family foundations, I touched on that a little bit. Also is a very important means by which family wealth is accumulated. These are charitable entities, but the way they're structured privately and the minimal regulation afforded to them due to their tax-exempt status allows them to accumulate and control tremendous amounts of wealth for your family, and allows for what I consider involuntary taxation to be done away with, and voluntary taxation to be allowed to take its place. Whereas, if taxes are being taken from your income with involuntarily, this structure allows those taxes to be heavily reduced, even if you're an employee, because, if you work a job, you can donate up to 30% of your adjusted gross income to a private charity and receive a charitable deduction on your taxes. But, excuse me, it's a structure that holds and accumulates wealth. Also, it, of course, has charitable natures and participates by offering grants typically to individuals and in charities that participate in the charitable activity that the foundation itself is positioned in as well. Heavy benefits to this. And as I wrap this episode up, I really want to point out and impress upon everyone that hears this that just because you went to public school doesn't mean you're stupid. Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid. Just because you didn't do well in school doesn't mean you're stupid. The framers of this system, specifically, the, original titans of industry in the United States, created a educational system with one purpose in mind, and that was to feed public companies specialized human labor. And this specialization and division of labor not only reduces the value and wealth of the private family, but also brings jurisdictional elements of taxation and control of wealth that not only are unnecessary but predatory. And with proper study, and I would say proper mentorship, private principles, as well as structures and the knowledge and know-how of how to properly administer them so they stay out continually of the hands and jurisdiction of any state actors or pirates, let's just be honest, can be achieved by you personally if you put your mind to it. If anything that I said struck a nerve with you, if it put a couple of things together, if it connected some dots, if it was inspiring, if it made you mad, I suggest that you reach out to me here at the foundation. You can reach me, admin@welcometothefoundation.com. That's my email. I suggest that you get your hands on Foundation Trust Primer if this is brand new to you. If someone had you listen to this and this struck a nerve to you and you want to learn more, maybe talk to the person who handed you or showed you this. And, maybe you can take it from there. I'm not the only person, the only one on this earth that knows this information. I just don't know anyone that provides it in the format, conciseness, and abundance as the foundation. And, I would be willing to admit if I, ran across an organization or individual that did. I'm like, well, hey, I gotta let you know they're doing it harder than the foundation over there. But at this time, I haven't seen that. So, I would encourage you, check out the Trust Primer, check out the Trust Series. I would encourage you heavily to sign up for the email list at welcometothefoundation.com. I would encourage you heavily to reach out to me at admin@welcometothefoundation.com. And I would encourage you to get into trustee training. Now, if you go to welcometothefoundation.com, you will see no mention of it. Trustee training, it's not something that is like 100% out there and offered to the public. At the very least, we got to correspond through email, before that offer is extended. But it's also it's a commitment. Trustee training is every Sunday. We call in, I send you a physical manual. We learn this stuff. And then, we have milestones, opening the trust bank account. If you have one, unencumbered, titling the vehicle in the asset trust, doing that. There's milestones. There's not just here's a packet. Good luck. You get my private mobile number. You can give me a call. Hey, man, I'm at the bank. They're saying that, this and that. There's been times where I've told them, hey, hand the phone to the banker. And I've talked to the banker. I think I'm one of the most hands-on mentors when it comes to this private administration. And, there's more than that. It includes, your business trust, asset trust, family trust. If it's the case, which I recommend, a public-facing structure, an LLC, family business, where, that we typically, that's where we hire the employees at, and not trying to have employees in the private trust. That just invites jurisdiction to the private structure. There's fringe benefits from corporations, company cars, company phones. Hey, so getting that set up, setting up the business credit, all these things are included in trustee training. So I suggest you reach out, admin@welcometothefoundation.com. Or just talk to the person who showed you this episode, or just keep studying. At the very least, just keep studying. Keep studying and reading, and, reading court cases and reading the Federal Register and just keep reading and read official documents. Don't read what, Psycho Sovereign 99 wrote and think it's 100. Do your research for yourself. Because ultimately, you have to be able to stand on this. You have to be able to make your claim. It's all about claims. It's all about claims in the private. What's the claim? What's your claim? And what am I? Hey, I'm claiming to be trustee of this private contractual entity, and we have a contract with this person, and according to the contract, this was supposed to happen, and it didn't happen, so it's a breach of contract. So we are requesting that the court assist in enforcing the contract. The contract says, in case of breach, this happens. We can show the breach. We substantiate the breach. Here's the breach. And here's the substantiation for the breach. And it's facts, not opinion. And here's what the contract says happens when there's a breach. Now, this party isn't looking to cooperate. And, we're looking to have the court enforce this equitable measure that is in this contract to begin with. We don't need you to adjudicate or make any opinions or rulings. We just need enforcement of this contract. And remember, Article 1, Section 10 states in part that no state can pass any law impairing the obligation of contract. There's a contract obligation we're looking to enforce. That was off the top of my head, and I'm not saying, ooh, I'm cool. I'm the smartest ever. No, I'm not. I study. I read a lot, man. I read this stuff so much. Can't lie. Ooh, I'm a savant. It just came to me. No, I didn't. I read stuff. I fell asleep with documents on my chest and woke up and there was papers all over the place, man. And irritated. I got to sit here and pick these up. I just woke up. Got to go to the bathroom. But, that's what it is. I'm serious. So, do your own investigations. I feel like that's, if you don't do anything I suggested, please do that. So, with that being said, that's it. It's the end of the show. I'm really interested to know what you think of this new format. Does it seem more personal, or do you like the old format? I assume that the quality of the show, of the audio, is going to improve tremendously with this format. But as I said, I would like to know what you think. So email me, admin@welcometothefoundation.com, and just let me know, hey, the new format is dope. Hey, the new format's whack. Stop it. Go to sleep, Sot. You're tripping. Either way, I really want to know. Also, Passport No Social, Part 3, live recording and interaction with Chris L. That's this Saturday, April 9th at 11:11 a.m. Central. The sign-up link will be live at welcometothefoundation.com. I'm sorry, will be live on the website, welcometothefoundation.com. Should be, I guess, within the hour, so by the time you're checking this out, should be up there. If you have any problem and you want to check out the live recording, email me, admin@welcometothefoundation.com, and I'll get you sorted. Please don't email me after April 9th. It's like June 26th, and I'm getting emails, yo, I'm trying to get on that live recording this Saturday. No. It is April 9th, 2022 at 11:11 a.m. But, I look forward to seeing you there. And I trust that you gained something. I also trust that you gained something from this episode of The Foundation here on High Frequency Radio Network. I put in this work, this is for you. It's for y'all, man. I know what this information did for me and my family. And, I'm just trying to spread the wealth, like literally. And true wealth is, in my opinion, knowledge applied correctly. Correct information correctly applied. And that's what we're looking to do here at the Foundation. So make sure you check out welcometothefoundation.com. Sign up for the email list. Minimal. If you check out the show, if you've listened to one show in these 5+ years of the Foundation, if you've heard me one time in my 6+ years being on High Frequency Radio Network, and you haven't signed up for the email list, shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Dishonor dishonor on your house, dishonor on your sneakers, shame on your shoelaces. For real. Straight up. Watch what happens now. Watch your shoelaces. You better go sign up for that email list. But, there's a lot of stuff on the website while I'm over here playing games and cracking jokes. And I suggest that you check that out. I'm always available to email admin@welcometothefoundation.com. But the biggest thing I would say is it's never too late. You're never too old. You're not stupid, and you can do it. It's just you weren't shown how. So it's a little difficult to figure out how to do something that you weren't shown how and you've never really seen anyone do. And that's what the foundation is here for. And like I said, admin@welcometothefoundation.com. So with that being said, I really, really, really trust that you gained something, you gleaned something from this episode, or that this episode helps someone that's close to you or someone that you care about. Get their hands on what I consider the big picture. Or not. Sometimes you can't win them all. But we continue and we persevere. And we continue to apply that correct information correctly. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great day, great evening, great week, great month, great year. Enjoy yourself. Take care of yourself. As always, make sure you say 10 things that you're thankful for before you go to sleep tonight and every night. It's very important. And I'll catch you next week on the hottest radio network on the planet, High Frequency Radio Network. My name is Sot L of the Foundation. And as always, it has been a pleasure. Y'all enjoy yourself. Peace.